Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to Inspiring Wellness. We are so excited to have our next guest today. I'm joined by Dr. Corey. Dr. Corey, do you want to give a little intro to yourself and who you are, where you're from, and what you do?
Okay. Yeah, thanks, Colton. My name is Dr. Amy Corey, and I am a licensed psychologist from Omaha, Nebraska, and I work in private practice since 2003.
Awesome. Well, we obviously know wellness is not only physical, but it is mental too. How has the pandemic furthered the awareness of mental health issues?
That's a really great question, and I think even that fact that you asked that way, does imply that it really has created an awareness about mental health. For me, the first part of the pandemic, there was so much focus on the medical aspect of it, as makes sense. But then I think as
Yep.
the months rolled on, there was more of a push to highlight mental health, because we know that it really was creating a lot of stress on all of us because of the pandemic. So I do hope that just the fact that people are talking about it more helps spread awareness. Um, and I think because we're all in the same boat, the downside is that more people are struggling, but the upside is that hopefully we keep having conversations about it. And I think we have to normalize that this is just part of life for a lot of people. And especially even if you haven't struggled with mental health before, this would be the time that a lot of people might experience difficulty for the first time.
Doesn't matter how optimistic or happy you typically are. I mean,
Yeah.
right now is just a weird time. It throws everybody off their typical routine or schedule. And I know for me, that was like a huge deal because that's what keeps me happy on a daily basis is a routine and a schedule. And then when that changes, it just throws your whole entire world into a spiral.
Yes. And I think, and real life is also still happening on top of the pandemic. So
Yeah.
people are still experiencing difficulties, but then we have the added stress of the pandemic.
Yeah, and I think that was one thing that I wanted to ask you too is like, how do you take a step back and identify on a daily basis, the stress and how it's taking a toll on your body?
That's a great question too. Part of it is we have to be in tune with our bodies and our minds, and we have to become aware of it. Um, we might notice that, boy, I'm not really sleeping as well as I normally do. I have trouble falling asleep. I have trouble staying asleep. Maybe I'm more irritable. I'm feeling more nervous. I'm feeling kind of down. I'm not having motivation or the energy, and you talked about like not being able to have a consistent schedule. And so for all of us, our lives kind of got turned upside down. And so, you know, part of it is we have to just pay attention to what is going on because um, if it means like, oh, maybe I need to try to exercise a little bit more, maybe I need to reach out to a friend or a loved one and be able to talk about it, um, because like I said before, if any of us are going to have difficulties, even if we haven't had it before, this is the time. So paying attention, I think, to what's going on in our minds and how we're feeling, because I think we get used to just kind of going along with our day to day and we don't stop and pay
Yeah.
attention to that.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think it's so easy for everybody to say, "Oh, I'll get through it," or "Oh, it's just going to be a rough patch."
And
But
and I do think people sometimes have been turning to like, I eat too much now, or I've heard people talk about gaining weight during the quarantine, or a lot of people are turning to drugs or alcohol to deal with the stress too. And and that of course we know can just create a whole host of other issues.
yeah, and one thing that I think I found too is like just as much as there's coping mechanisms the negative way with drugs or alcohol or just sort of being hard on yourself, there's coping mechanisms the other way too. I got a Peloton bike and I can't tell you how much I ride that just as a stress reliever too.
Yeah.
And doing classes, not necessarily only for my fitness, but just for knowing when I am on that for 25 minutes, I'm only thinking about that and I don't have to have my brain working or on.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was something that stuck out when you just said that was the different coping mechanisms that you can have both positive and negative.